Good morning and welcome to SimWorld Today, a Marsh Pod solo takeover, if you will, on this Wednesday morning. Plenty to get to in an all SimWorld U Wednesday morning because it's a huge day in SimWorld U as the first round of the Great Eight takes off tonight at 8 o'clock. We will know who's playing next Monday in the quad, at least two of them. SMU, Louisville, Arizona, Alabama, 8 and 9:30 games. Let's start, though, with the breaking news that came on what should have been an off day in SimWorld U. Not an off day at all, as Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper both announced by the leagues that they are eligible and are declaring for, both of them have declared for, the SWBA draft. A monumentous moment in SimWorld U and SWBA. Not only does it open up the floodgates next season, Duke no longer the team that many thought they would be. No longer are they the guaranteed, bona fide, no doubt about it, best team that it could possibly be next season. The number one favorites, as many would expect. And instead, it's Cooper Flagg's going number one. As was reported by Sean Serrania, the Dallas Mavericks have said they are taking Cooper Flagg number one. End of the debate. End of the question about will they pick. Will they trade it? Will they do anything with it? Cooper Flagg is going to be a Dallas Maverick. And Dylan Harper, TBD on where Dylan Harper is going to end up. Very well may be a San Antonio Spur, as Harper is among the better prospects in this class. But this gives certainty at the top. We can stop debating who's number one. This is a win for Dylan Harper. This is a win for Cooper Flagg. Both of those guys well deserved to be able to move on, as was outlined in the piece and the reporting by Sharania, was that the players entered SimWorld U underneath requirements that were different than what ended up being the case now, right? They entered with the expectation they'd spend one season. No, they then had the rule instituted that they'd have to spend two. And that's just not going to be the case, right? So Flagg goes, this is a win for Dallas. I would not be surprised if we see the San Antonio Spurs select Dylan Harper, number two. I think there's been a lot of linkage between the Spurs and Dylan Harper. Now, are there other options out there? Maybe. You can make the case for Lemarian Sherwood to be the center next to Victor Wembanyama. You can make the case for a guy like Cooper King-Cross, but I think it makes sense for Dylan Harper, and we'll see. We'll see if Dylan Harper ends up being the number two pick there. Plenty of debate that's going to be surrounding that, but Dylan Harper's upside is really good. He's a top 5 guy in this class. He would have been a top 3 pick, I think, next season. It also, I think that's a win for all of the freshmen. This is a win for Nas Hall, Justin Bell, Arthur Lattimore, D'Angelo Jordan, right? All of the elite young freshmen. And I think the freshman class, I'm going to say, I think the freshman class this season and the draft class next season is potentially better than the draft class this coming season. Now, the loss of Cooper Flagg and the loss of Dylan Harper hurts that, but I still really think that the argument at the top, you're going to get, do you want to, it's a wing-heavy draft, right? Nas Hall, 6'5", 6'6". Justin Bell, D'Angelo Jordan, Arthur Lattimore. Those are 2 to 4s, right? Those are 2s, 3s, and 4s in the draft next season, and that's what they project to be at the next level. It's a win for them because now the floodgates and the opportunity to be the number one pick are wide open in a way that they simply were not open before this news yesterday. All right, let's head to the games, and let's start with SMU as they take on Louisville. SMU, part of the third time in SimWorld U history that 3 double-digit seeds have advanced to the Great Eight. No national champions out of that bunch, but SMU and Louisville. And what are the keys? What are the keys to win? Let's start with SMU. The key to winning is slowing down Pooh Lewis. Pooh Lewis has been fantastic in hoops area. He has pushed himself from probably a 20s pick. I think there's probably going to be a team that may talk themselves into him in the lottery. He's been that dynamic on the offensive end. SMU's got to find a way to slow him down. They've got a guy, and lately it's been McCallum Duvall, who can go toe-to-toe. Cam Jones has that capability. But if they want to win, Pooh Lewis cannot be the Pooh Lewis that scored 30-plus on St. John's, right? You can't be the Pooh Lewis that showed up and helped this team win against Maryland. Pooh Lewis has to be stopped if you're SMU. Meanwhile, the key to that's so key, if you want to call that Louisville's key, is keep Pooh Lewis going. Let's go that route, right? The key for SMU is Cam Jones needs to be more impactful. We had Cam Jones on the pod on Monday. He's been really, really good this postseason. I think there's more. I think there's more to Cam Jones, who I think projects right now as a lottery pick next year. There's more to Cam Jones that I think can be extracted, and finding a way to get that out of him is going to be so incredibly important. Yes, McAllen Duval has been really good for the Mustangs, but if they're going to win and advance to the quad for the first time, I mean, this is the first time in franchise or in program history they've made the second time, versus the 60s. If they can get to the quad, a historic moment for this program, a number 13 seed, a historic moment in college basketball to take down a Louisville squad who they ended. I mean, this team is ranked as the number 3 team in the country, or excuse me, in the East region. This team was number 9 in the latest poll. I mean, this was a fringe 2 seed. So you see the 3 in front of them. This team was a 2 seed. I mean, if something goes just a touch wrong, right? I think if Kentucky loses that game to Alabama, Kentucky probably drops to a 3 and Louisville ends up as a 2. And that's the ramifications of that, right? You look at these small sliding door moments, and that's Louisville. A loss by a different team if Memphis wins the American, they might be a 2, right? And that, you talk about just how big of a change that is. That's where we're at right now. And that is incredibly unique. And that's just the margin of error and the margin of difference for Louisville right now. I'm taking Louisville in that one. All right, Alabama, Arizona, a rematch. Remember, a rematch from last season's Hoopsteria as well, where it was Alabama and Arizona. They squared off in the Super 16 in the South region. There, we're back in the South region. Now we're in the Grade 8. Alabama won that one 87-80. It was a huge night from DJ Childs and a huge night from Juan Valentine. So it's the Childs versus Valentine Part 2. Alabama and Arizona, this time with a chance to go to the quad, where Alabama fell short in the Grade 8 last season. The key to Alabama: get this motor rolling. This is a deep team, and we talked about it. How are they going to win games? We talked about it. How are they going to win the SEC? Their depth, man. Dwayne Epps, Quincy Henderson, those are first-round picks. I mean, those have been 2 guys that have changed their draft stock the most out of everybody. Those are guys that I think came in as second, late first-round picks. No, not anymore. I think there's a chance that either of those guys goes in the teens. Definitely by 25, both those guys should be off the board. So Alabama, get the motor rolling, right? Get DJ Childs, who proved last season that he can be a difference maker. He had 32 points in their loss in the Grade 8 last season to UConn. He can be that kind of guy. He hasn't been this season, right? He's been slowed by that ankle injury early on, which I think is just impacting him more than people are letting on. He's talking that he's good to go. They need DJ Childs, who's played a really good game. I think he's evolved into more of a playmaking defensive menace. And if that's the version of him this season, then Alabama's got a chance to win. What's it for Arizona? Corey Yams has got to stay out of foul trouble, right? Corey Yams has got to stay out of foul trouble. Now, look, you can make the case that Corey Yams was not exceptionally great in that series, or in that game rather, against Iowa, right? He sits out, I think, like 10 minutes of the second half playing with those 4 fouls. And Arizona kept it close, right? That game, we continue to talk about it. 4-point game the entire way. 4 points. That's all it was. But they need him on the floor. Because, yes, you can make the case that this team was better against Iowa, but that's not the truth. Corey Yams is a difference maker when he gets to be on the floor. He cannot make the type of foolish fouls that he did last week, or last game. He needs to be more efficient with the basketball. He needs to be more intelligent on the defensive end. And truthfully, coaching staff has got to put him in a position where he's not hurting himself. I think that him having 4 fouls and dealing with that was as much of an issue from Tommy Lloyd and his coaching staff not taking him out than it was Corey Yams. But they need him on the floor. Corey Yams can be an absolute difference maker when he's playing with the type of aggressiveness that he does. If he can find a way to dial that back, keep himself on the floor for 23, 25, 35 minutes, I mean, those are big jumps. Those are big differences, right? This is a guy that averaged 28 minutes per game. I don't know I can't remember what he had in the win against Iowa, a game that they quite literally, I mean, think about this for the Iowa-Arizona quick tangent. Iowa technically never led for any period of time in that basketball game. They didn't. They never led in a game they won because the buzzer sounded while the shot by Linton Cordoba was in the air. Arizona never led, and they're here. I mean, that's incredible to think about. That Arizona never... I mean, I'm going to say it like 10 more times, apparently, but that's just absolutely stunning to think about how Arizona's still standing, how Arizona is still playing right now, because they've been absolutely... their run has been incredible. It's a team that's built off of a lot of things, but to do it, they're going to need Juan Valentine. Yes, they're going to need Khalil Erickson, who I thought Khalil Erickson had a fantastic game against Iowa. I thought Juan Valentine had a fantastic game against Iowa. Theophilus Hilton had the best game of anybody. I think he scored 25 points. I mean, Theophilus Hilton was going toe-to-toe against Lamarian Sherwood. I mean, you want to talk about a guy adding to his draft stock. I think Hilton was a guy that probably people were looking at saying, maybe second-round pick. He torched, man. He torched. And this is a guy that was pretty good, 13.5 points. That's tough to do in college basketball in 30 minutes. And he was able to do that. So they need all those guys, but they need Corey Yams to stay out of foul trouble if they're going to win a basketball game. And if they're going to get to the quad, which would be a pretty big moment. I mean, Arizona and Arizona and Alabama are two of the programs that are more storied in recent history in SimWorld U. But it's also, they haven't been able to get over the hump. Arizona. And this would be a big win if they could pull it off. That's going to be the key to them. Make sure Corey Yams is able to stay on the floor for every single second of it. If he can do that, I like Arizona's chances at vengeance after their run last season, where again they took down Virginia Tech in the second round. They took down Alabama, before falling to Alabama there in the Super 16. All right, we're coming back Thursday morning. We will have Maestro in the building. We will be recapping both of those games. Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Eastern Conference Finals also tonight, so we'll maybe touch on a little bit of that. But huge night in basketball continues. Inarguably the best time of the year for a basketball fan. It's just high-level hoops every single night, and we are soaking it all in.